Fantasy art history with Abelard and Joe.
Hey, Abelard, are you out of makeup yet?
How do I look?
You look great.
Ah,
I mean, you always look great. You look really put together. You look um like someone I would trust. You look like
oh, you don't have to butter me up like that. You look nice too.
you don't have to flatter me. I know what I look
Yeah,
like.
just
I,
two humble sots out here.
I'm
Yeah.
well, I'm humble. I would not describe you that way, actually. You're
What? Really?
um It's not exactly the word I would use. No, you're something different from humble. You're,
Well,
um,
go on. Find a word to describe me.
uh, self-possessed.
I'll take it. Okay. Well, I think that you're humble.
Well, yeah, look at me.
Okay. Well,
Really, like I got the face of a peasant.
you've got a face for video. Um, well, humble or self-possessed, I guess. Viewer, we've got a treat for you today. Um, Actually, Joe, did you get Philip's text from
Oh,
Philip?
oh, oh, no, what did I thought Philip's not here.
No, he forgot to wind up his car, so he can't drive over.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, well,
probably next time, he said. I was gonna
that's,
ask him what he was reading, but he sounded really flustered.
well, next week, everyone.
Next
We'll
week.
we'll get back to it.
Yeah, catch up
That's
with Philip.
that's too bad. I hope
Yeah,
he didn't get halfway here and then run out of
yeah.
uh,
Need somebody to pull the car back. Yeah,
such as a small beetle or a couple of ants.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be hard for him.
That's the life, and he doesn't complain. It's great. But no Philip this week, but we've got something great for you, which is we're going to be talking about Rebecca Guay, whose uh, art we looked at in the Vampire the Masquerade episode briefly, but who's famous for a lot of stuff. She's has a fine art practice, and she was all over um, this sort of like speculative fiction art, but especially magic cards. Um,
This is more of an Abelard pick. I think that as a child, I think I might have seen some Rebecca Guay pieces around, maybe in Cricket magazine.
yeah, that wouldn't
Um,
be out of the question.
Like it's certainly familiar to me, but of course that was a magazine for children. So the fact that almost everything she draws is incredibly sexy was
Yeah,
not part of what I saw.
yeah, you would have missed that big facet of the herb. But yeah, we'll get into it, and it is incredibly sexy. But I think that we'll find a lot to talk about here. Do you want to talk about the first piece, Jeff?
Well, I mean, how are you doing, Abelard? We didn't really get to catch up because you were in hair and makeup, getting
Oh,
all you know.
didn't you say you had an appointment?
Uh, well, you got a minute and a half. How are you doing, Abelard?
I'm fine. How are you, Jeff?
I'm getting by.
Okay, great.
Great. Well, let's look at some art.
Let's look at some art. Okay, great. Oh, you usually
Oh,
do this
I
part.
usually do this too.
It's
Also,
really
you have
hard.
to you have to get off the camera when you're doing it.
Oh,
You're not preserving the illusion.
oh, thank you very. Todd, Todd got it. Maybe we could just have him do it.
Well,
No,
here
he
you go.
wants me to do it.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
gesturing at me. Okay.
okay.
All right. So
Wow, look at this. Wow, this is in situ in its you know,
yeah,
in a magic card.
in a magic card. So this is Gaia's Blessing, which is a pretty old card. Magic's been around for about 30 years, and I think this would have been like mid to late 90s for this one. I think I'm not 100%.
So is that early days of magic or is that like mid days of magic?
Early days of Magic. Yeah. Um, like middle early in a
So
way.
this is because you've showed me some very early magic cards and they were fun but often quite bad, and this is very good. So is this
Are you saying this is good because I told you?
no, what I'm saying is
Oh, the art is
the
good.
art, the
Yeah,
art. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think a lot of the early magic art had a lot of character to it. Um, but apparently, like the early practice, and I don't know if this is where they found Guay, was that they would just go to like local art fairs in the Pacific Northwest. They would look for people who were showing work that seemed like something they could use. Sometimes they would directly buy paintings that the people had just painted of their own accord. Um, and use them for card art, and other times they would, add them to their possibly literal Rolodex at the time to uh, get in touch with. And so
That's cool.
I think it did seem like art at that time was a little more individual in some ways. And so I think that's one reason that someone like Guay was able to be so expressive and do something so idiosyncratic. I do think this is really good. I
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. Do you suppose we could, having seen it in place in the magic card,
Yeah.
can we maybe zoom in
Ah,
on
no,
the
it's fine. I got it. You don't have to come over here.
so
I
because
got that time.
what I really want to take a look at is I feel that the way that she handles paint, the way that she handles the texture of what looks to me like watercolor is really individual. Like it's almost immediately recognizable. It has a sort of it's like I don't know. It's got this grimy, murky character. Like she has dropped huge amounts of water onto the paint, maybe after dropping the pigment onto the paper,
Yeah.
so that like post pigment application, it is kind of spread and bled. And there's this thing with watercolors that, and again, and this is just guessing. I don't know
Yeah.
this for sure,
This
but
could be acrylic for all we know.
this could be it could be anything. I have no idea how she
Yeah.
did this, but there is a characteristic of watercolors where if you like you work it too hard or you kind of get your brush in there with the paint and some more water after you've put your first stroke down, it makes a kind of gross weird mark that people I've heard at least one person call it a cauliflower. Um
Yeah.
and, it seems a little bit to me like she is taking that effect, which is usually thought of as a bad mistake that you don't want, and using it to create like 90% of the texture in these drawings, and it looks
Yeah.
beautiful. And this is one of the great things about art is that like there is any move that it is possible to make on a surface, you can use that.
Hmm.
That's fine. Like there's not a wrong or a right. You can just go. You can do 100% mistakes as hard as you can and come out with something that's awesome.
Well, you can do things that would have been considered technical errors if they didn't produce such nice effects. Like they originally distorted electric guitar was considered a technical error.
Yep.
But without that, we wouldn't have that band Sun.
Yep. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, you don't say Sun O, you just say Sun.
Why did they spell it that way then?
Because they're named after a kind of ant,
How do you pronounce the amp?
Sun, and the O is a logo.
Okay, same question.
Yeah, it's just
They're just being cool.
the O is a logo.
What do you mean it's a logo? It's a picture of a sun.
Yeah, or a sound wave or something. But
Okay.
to bring it all the way back around, um, like because I do think this looks really watercolory to me.
Mhm.
Um, it has that quality of when a pool of color like gets really dark around the edges where it was like dropped. Um, Things like the kind of desaturated quality of sponged up watercolor where you're like lightening it, but it also washes everything out. That's really, if that's what's going on here, it's used to really lovely effect in creating this like mist that is sitting just above the grass and that the is like passing through the lower half of the characters.
Mhm.
Um, I love the way that some of the more defined stuff, like the hair kind of melts away into just atmosphere. And even things like the treatment of the cape, I think is really beautiful. And again, is maybe like sponged up a little bit, or there's some work being done to it feels really tactile. Like
Yes.
it feels like not just cloth, but like a coarsely woven cloth.
Yeah, it's the other thing that like we've looked at a magic card before, and it was that crazy thing with like 300 figures in it, and
Yeah,
little like
very
guys,
worked.
very finished. This is the opposite of that, and I think that this as an image is just as impactful, although it is this very simple two figures, two leaning trees, and that's basically it. And one thing to remember is we're looking at this pretty big, but in card form, this isn't even the whole surface of a playing card. This takes up a tiny amount of space.
Yeah.
And this has a sort of emotional heft to it as a composition. The fact that the woman is naked and the knight or whatever is like fully clothed, like
Yeah.
just adds this sort, and she's got what I'm assuming are plants on her, but at first glance, it kind of just looks like she's really dirty.
Yeah.
It has such a, I don't know, it's like really tactile. The idea of like leaning up against someone like that
Mhm.
outside in the cold, like,
It has a lot of warmth to it. It suggests, I think, a little scene, right? It kind of it's easy to imagine how you got from this art to the card name or how you heard this card name and then you made art from it. Um,
yeah. And the other thing I appreciate is that like although this is like a naked woman as the kind of central image on your magic card, this isn't like a sexualized naked woman, I guess. Like it's something else going. It's like profoundly intimate without
yeah,
being like super sexy. It's just really beautiful and tender.
yeah, yeah. It's not. Yeah, sexuality is not the reason. The character is not naked because she's a sexual object. She's naked because they're in the state of nature, or because she's like a spirit and she's like untethered to mortal things, or something like that.
Yeah, or something about like I don't know the idea of like gifting someone to some gifting something to someone, like giving your blessing to someone,
Yeah,
involves a sort of extreme vulnerability, maybe. I don't know. It's true. It's a really beautiful image.
yeah, it's pretty compelling. Do you want to look at a different piece of the magic art?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Wow. Abelard's really helping out this week. I usually have to do this. Great job, Abelard. You're a master technician. Were you in
Wow,
the
that's making me feel really self-possessed.
dude, sorry.
Okay.
Come on. That's not even it's perfectly fine thing to be.
Yeah.
Not to mention true.
Well, uh, this is another magic card. This one, you notice this one looks pretty different. This is like the new card frame, which is more legible, but doesn't look as good.
Mm.
Um, but I just picked this one because I really like this piece of art. She's illustrated lots and lots of magic art. Um, and this is also like two figures kind of interacting in this way, even like the positioning of one behind the other, and the one in front sort of ignoring the prior. Like there are some things that tie them together, but I just like how different the mark making is, how different the composition is. Right, this is
Yeah.
right in the previous one. While there is some depth to the image, the two figures are side by side in a flat picture plane, and in this, it's three-dimensional. The figure behind is like encircling the figure in front.
Yeah. How great are the little triangles?
Dude, the little triangles, it's like graphic. It's has this almost tossed off like, yeah, there's some magic going on. But because and it's like little, I think it specifically fits the idea of the memory lapse. Like this could be the drawing in a cartoon of somebody forgetting about something. Whoops. Uh,
Did they? Here's my question about magic art generally, because I think you've seen more of the current crop of art for magic cards. Are they bringing in any artists now that have this distinctive of a style?
yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yeah. It's not the mean,
Okay,
um, but there are still, I think, if you look carefully through the cards, you will see stuff with this kind of individual voice.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I am glad to hear that because this seems like not at all like the kind of painterly fantasy stuff. Um,
Yeah.
it's great to see some sort of costuming that's non-Western based.
Yeah. And uh just the way just the way the drawing is done is kind of loose. Like if you look at the piping on the figure's coat or like the hat, like it just seems sort of like drawn once and then we move past it. Like there are
Yeah,
even what look like some sort of like pencil mismarks.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. The ability to not work super clean and to be confident enough to do that and
yeah,
to still phew, it's in a way, being able to do work that is kind of free and messy like this, honestly, it's harder
yeah,
than working really like clean because you have to somehow have the confidence to keep that energy and be able to like make one mark and let it sit there and not go back over it, redraw it until it's perfect. And I think that you look at stuff that's been done really perfectly and carefully, and I think that reads as skillful
mhm,
to a lot of people on first glance because, like, the lines all connect and everything is perfectly marked out like a coloring book. Uh, but in a way, this requires a deeper knowledge of, the way like bodies and hands and clothing work because
yeah.
you're using the smallest amount to suggest it.
But I don't think it's just having representational skill. I think it's also just being able to draw appealing looking lines and shapes and
Yeah.
like appealing looking blotches of color. So like the thing I kept looking at, or the thing I kept thinking as I looked at all of this work was just like draftsmanship, right? Like you could put this alongside. I think this kind of looks like Egon Schiele.
Oh,
Um,
good call.
yeah. Or like the like Degas drawings or whatever. And I think you can put her alongside any of these really people who are really excellent at drawing and whose drawings look fantastic and you're happy to look at the drawings by themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love the black background as well. Sometimes you don't need anything behind your figures. You just leave it there.
Hmm.
You're done. It's good. Don't do too much work.
But
Yeah.
what if the background was really crazy? Do you want to see an example of that?
Okay.
Well, it's not black at least. It's crazy goldly. What about that?
Yes.
Um, we
Yes.
will look at something that's not a magic card, but I like a lot of these
No,
cards.
I think it's interesting that we are deep in the context of Magic the Gathering for this stuff because she's really doing some stuff with it. Like I feel like all three of these drawings are specifically, it's not like they grabbed a whole full painting and stuck it in a magic card. You can tell these are made to be this size.
Yeah.
And they are made to give you this tiny little sense of a story or a character. They're just like little bites of art or something.
Hmm.
So I don't know, it's good to look at them and they're sitting in these frames well,
Yeah.
and it's nice to see the frame.
I think it's also cool to see the different ways for all of these compositions that are just one or two figures, the ways that a figure has been made to sit in a box to
Yeah.
create an exciting composition.
Yeah, because if you think about the shape a person is, they're generally kind of a tall rectangle, but this is a wide rectangle.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Big problem.
Yeah. And previously the answer was put two guys side by side, but here the answer is this crazy reclining pose that like certainly there are many paintings of women reclining. I haven't seen a woman reclining like this before in art.
Um, yeah, I don't know if I have either, although I'm sure at some point. But no, this
She's
is wild.
also, I don't have fingers, so I can't do the gesture, but if you look at her hand, she's doing the like Christ Pantocrator
Hell
thing.
yeah.
She's doing like the icon because this character I think is like a kind of like all-powerful wizard angel who lives in
S-
a angel dimension.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's got sunglasses on.
She's got American Apparel track shorts. She's got cool boots. She's got sunglasses because it probably gets pretty bright in heaven. And she's got like a mesh top that also looks, or maybe it's chainmail, and you can really read it either way. And she has crazy wings for the background. like doing the wings in all black and then putting those against the gold leaf is so exciting.
Yeah. That's great. Do you think she was maybe looking at like medieval devotional art or something? Like really, really
Yeah,
early stuff for well, with the gold background, the gold outlines, all that.
yeah, or like yeah, I was thinking about some of the like Eastern Orthodox icons that have all the gold leaf in the background
Yeah.
and um and the hand gesture and like this handful of signifiers that you use to denote who you're particularly looking at.
Yep. So what's this lady do?
She makes angels and makes the angels more powerful.
Cool.
Yeah.
So she doesn't look like she's from medieval times or from like the magical world of magic.
No.
Like, so what's up with that?
So in this, first of all, magic now is way wilder in terms of what's like one of the more recent sets was like a Mad Max road race thing, which some people find pretty annoying.
Oh,
Um, but it means that you will see like cars and guns and telephones and stuff in Magic the Gathering.
okay.
Um, but you still won't see anybody dressed like this, I think. It's much more it's still kind of tethered to being this sort of like generic fantasy game in that way. You won't see anyone in satin track shorts, much to the detriment of the game. But the idea with this is they an art series where they would commission. I believe the idea was for some of their like better known artists, the artist could pick maybe 5 cards to illustrate themselves and just do whatever they want with them. And so this is Rebecca Guay picking this existing card and doing new art for it.
Dude, that's sweet. So
Yeah,
this is what happens if you don't art direct so hard that stuff gets boring.
yeah,
Is you get cool ass art like this.
yeah.
That's what everyone should do, by the way. If you need some art, just be like, I don't know, whatever you
Go
want.
crazy with
Go
it.
crazy. Here's the text.
Yeah.
Go wild.
Oh, here's the text, but oh, you can ignore it, throw it in the garbage.
Throw it right in the
Oh, I'm
trash.
just a worm. You can do whatever you want. Oh,
That's our professional
yeah.
advice. Yep. Anyway.
We didn't talk so much about color in the previous ones, but amazing color here. I love the way the like mint color of the top gets picked up by the highlights on the hair.
Yeah, she's real shiny. She can tell she's wearing like those shiny tights too.
Oh yeah, the
It's-
texture there, really
yeah,
cool.
even if this lady appeared before you with her angel wings and her shininess and her sunglasses, you'd be like, you'd be scared basically.
Yeah,
You'd be like,
gobsmacked.
yeah, you'd lie down in the dirt with your face on the ground.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, do you want to see one more?
Yeah, let's look at one more.
Yeah. So this is also from her. This is just her fine artwork. So this is just a painting. This isn't on a magic card at all.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow. This is great.
Yeah.
This is very Abelard. This is pretty sexy.
Unencumbered by doing magic cards, she made a pretty sexy one.
Um, this is
Cover your eyes if you're not ready
yeah.
for this.
Everyone, go away. You're
It's
not ready for this. We're just gonna. Me and Abelard are gonna cover this. Just gonna talk by ourselves
Yeah.
for a while. Everyone else, you should probably leave.
Yeah. Have a drink of water and sit down.
Yeah. Dang.
Dang.
Yeah. Man, look at the night guy's like gnarled up weird hand.
Yeah.
It looks like tree bark or something. It's so wild.
Yeah. Yeah. His hands are all gnarly. You can tell from the tiny bit you can see of his face and neck that that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And then the woman is like sort of incandescently pink.
Yep.
Um,
You can see the imprint of his hand on her butt.
yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty great. They're going at it pretty hard, huh?
Yeah, they're going pretty crazy on it.
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of like obfuscating details, right? There are some kind of mystifying qualities that keep this from really settling into just being a sexy picture
Hmm.
of like what happened when you turned the camera off after the guy's blessing art from
Uh-huh.
before. Uh, like there's there are
This guy is extra blessed.
the But you can see like the flowers everywhere, obviously, that are like diegetically, they're on kind of an end table, but also they're just sort of exploding all over everywhere.
Mhm,
Her hair is also kind of all over everywhere.
mhm.
It just sort of appears. And then,
And then we have the little bottle of water right in the front.
yeah,
Her little still life, the kind of crappy bottle of water where you can tell that it's made out of that plastic that kind of makes a terrible
yeah,
sound in your hand as you clutch it.
easy crinkle plastic.
Easy. Yep,
And then
exactly.
you might even have missed them if you were looking at some other stuff, but who are those guys in the top right-hand corner?
I don't know. Who are they? What do those guys represent, Abelard?
You know, I always think it's kind of flattening to art to talk about individual elements representing
Oh.
individual things. No,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
sincerely feel
That's
this
fine.
way.
That's
This
okay.
isn't just me being self-possessed. I think that this is for real. Because if it was a one-to-one, this represents that kind of relationship, then why not just write a sentence explaining what everything is? I think the idea is that,
But
there has to be some ambiguity.
Abelard, we have to talk about something.
Yeah, but that's what
So,
makes our job more interesting and gives us something to do is we're not just our job isn't to translate the art for your, viewing benefit. Our job is just to sort of point out the weird gnarls and intricacies of it.
but I think that you could. But the
Okay, how do you interpret?
Okay, well, here's some guesses. And I think it's fun. Although and to be honest, I understand where you're coming from. Nothing has a specific meaning. Nothing is a symbol, a one-to-one symbol of anything else, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I still think we can look at something like this, and I think that it is interesting to try to work out either what the artist was thinking of or how it strikes us
Yeah,
individually and how we would interpret it. I mean, that's like what happens when you look at art, and I don't think there's anything wrong in talking about it. So, when I look at these guys in the background, like there's between the water bottle and the guy sitting in chairs in the background, this has like being on a panel vibes to me.
yeah,
I guess like you're in at a conference or something, and people are listening to you talk. Um, and and this is just my interpretation. This is not what it means. And anyone else who wants to, Abelard, can interpret a different thing or say it's
yeah,
no interpretation. Okay, so um the idea of like taking something that is incredibly passionate and personal and putting it up in front of like and like so overwhelming that seems like to you personally, the artist, I guess, or whatever, that it fills up the entire space, the entire world, but then it gets taken into a sort of clinical zone. Why, perhaps that's what I'm doing right now. um and in that clinical zone, it's wildly out of place. People sit around in the back calmly on chairs with their legs crossed talking about it.
yeah.
What are you going to do?
No, I think that's astute. I think you could also read it as like um this being the that this is like the Tristan and Isolde story or something similar, like some knightly romance story, and that to the people it's happening to, it's immediate, but we receive it as this story that is there to be dissected. I guess that's not that
That's
different from what you're saying.
Well, it's kind of basically you said what I said, but you said it in a neater and more coherent way.
I
So
think the
thanks.
difference is that you're talking about uh, the woman in the night as the experience of the artist, and I'm talking about the woman in the night as part of a story or a document
Hmm.
like literature, like matter
Yeah.
that's being discussed hundreds of years later.
I think both of these things are valid and could be possibly correct, but that doesn't matter. It could also be the case that she's like, I have this idea for this incredible composition.
Yeah,
It would be funny if there was a water bottle center front.
Yeah.
That would be hysterical. What am I going to do with this empty space in the background? I'm
What
going
if
to
there were
paint
some
some, but what about,
guys?
what if there's some dudes back there and they
Yeah.
were watching? That would be hysterical.
Yeah.
100% that might be what's going on here.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's also so. We just saw Eraserhead. It's part of a David Lynch retrospective thing.
Dang, that was a movie, you
Now
guys.
that's a movie.
Now that's it. Are you, do you, how good are you feeling right now,
Yeah.
the
You ready
audience?
to feel really, really bad?
Yeah, because it's,
Because Eraserhead.
how just before you go see Eraserhead, figure out how kind of rate yourself emotionally
Yeah.
and see like what
8 and up. 8 out of 10 or higher if you want to go see Eraserhead.
pretty much. But I mean, if you ever hit that level,
Yeah.
someday, Eraserhead. Consider Eraserhead an incredible movie.
I brought it up just because there are a couple of shots in Eraserhead where there's something really transfixing in the foreground, and there's some people walking around doing stuff in the background, and it like takes you a beat to notice they're there. And this has that same relationship, right?
Hmm.
There is a guy, there are a couple of guys looking at these people, but by extension, like past them to you. Some people looking right at you, and you just kind of miss them at first.
Yeah, yeah, they really fade into the background. It's kind of it's basically accusatory too, because we are also gazing at this
Yeah,
thing happening.
yeah.
We are those guys in a way. Oh no, I don't want to be them. I want to be. I want to.
Wow.
I want to.
We're the
I want
guys on
to.
this side, and they're the guys on that side.
I want to be the subject,
Yeah.
Abelard.
Wow. Bad news about the kind of show we're doing.
Well, friends,
Well, everybody.
bad news about the show you're watching.
Yeah.
Here we
But
all are. There's always going to be something screening us from each other. And if we're lucky, it'll be a fine piece of art like this.
wow, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful way of bringing it home, Jeff.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. And until next time,
Keep on dreaming.
that was pretty